Hey guys. Over 10 minutes passed. The sound of footsteps echoed from the direction of the gymnasium and crowd before the infirmary. Genocidal Show had avoided Ogami's attacks to the best of her abilities, but Ogami's scathing, "That's more than enough, you infuriating sicko," led her to stop in her tracks. Oh, hearing that from my handsome bespectacled Byakun makes my 13th alphabet all excited. They say the line between sadism and masochism is thinner than a sheet of paper. But my balls are made of cardboard. You can't explain these waves of passion with a piece of compressed pulp. As Sho rambled nonsensically about Ogami subdued her. She was then tied up with a microphone cable from the gymnasium and locked up in her room. Half the students had stayed behind to keep watch over her, while the other half had gone together to search through the school building. When the infirmary doors opened, Kirigiri was faced with a non-functioning monobear with a hole through his chest and the remains of a security camera. The carnage was not only limited to the infirmary. The students had already seen multiple destroyed cameras on their way here, as well as gouged monobear parts. Rule number 5. No violence is permitted against the school's headmaster, Monobear. Destruction of the surveillance cameras is forbidden. Have been broken to bits. But if Ikusaba was on the side of the original Monobear, she would have no need to stick to this rule. Although the Monobear in the gymnasium had stopped moving and they had lost contact with the so-called hacker, the students believed that the hacker had engaged Ikusaba in battle with a different unit. With this hypothesis in mind, Kirigiri turned back to the infirmary. The beds were empty, but she could see from the blood that someone had been lying on one of them very recently. They got away. Arata spat, turning around, but Kirigiri did not follow him. Fujisaki-san and I will stay here and search for clues. Huh? What do you mean? Fujisaki asked. That's right, but Kirigiri continued coldly. We might find something if we search Monobear's remains. I've determined that you would be the most suitable candidate for working with machinery like this. But will it not be dangerous? Ogami asked. Naturally, she had joined the investigation group because she was the only one who could subdue Ikusaba. Kirigiri shook her head. It's unfortunate, but Fujisaki and I will only be a burden to you should you get into a difficult situation. So I think it will be better that we stay here and search. for clues rather than potentially become a hindrance. We might even be able to find a way to communicate wirelessly with the outside world through this monobear unit. Of course, that is most reasonable. Then the rest of us shall search this floor. Should anything happen, call out to us immediately. Ogami and the others left the infirmary. How could she possibly have done this kind of damage? Fujisaki wondered. Tentatively, looking over Monobear's remains. Kirigiri meanwhile stood by one of the beds and focused her senses. A moment later, she confirmed a certain hypothesis. She had formed and with a quiet sigh, she spoke up, still staying straight. Let me apologize to you ahead of time, Fujisaki-san. Huh? I ended up dragging you into this gamble. So, on the off chance that something should happen, I want you to run out into the hallway and call for help immediately. What do you mean? But instead of replying, Kirigiri addressed one of the empty beds. I'll say this, I'm ready to hear you out, no matter how outlandish your story may be. I promise I won't pass judgment on it until you've told me everything you want to say. Fujisaki was lost. The super high school level mystery closed her eyes and made a request of the super high school level programmer. Fujisaki-san, does your laptop have a microphone and a voice recording function? Huh? Oh yes. Then I want you to record everything that we'll hear from this point on. What does she mean, everything we'll hear? There's no one here, Fujisaki wondered, but begin work on connecting Monobear's parts to the laptop while turning on the recording function. We'll pick up every sound in this room now, Fujisaki said nervously. Kirigiri nodded, satisfied. She again addressed the empty bed. So, what would you have done if I told everyone that I'd found Naegi-kun? Fujisaki turned around without thinking. Having been crouching in order to get a good look at the non-functioning Monobear, it was easy to see what Kirigiri had been referring to. One of the beds in the infirmary was located in a blind spot from the doors, and underneath that bed was Naegi, laid out helplessly on the floor. A blood pack was hidden beside the bed, slowly but surely providing it with a transfusion. However, the contents of the blood pack was clear. It was likely only providing Naegi with saline, I don't know, for emergency hydration. It will not be as effective as a blood transfusion, but it would help prevent him from going into shock. Although Fujisaki did not have any medical knowledge beyond this, the biggest surprise was the fact that Naegi had been in the infirmary all along. Not only that, the fact that Kirigiri had not been addressing the bed that Naegi was hidden under, but another bed under which no one was visible, terrified. Terrified Fujisaki. Be right back, guys. Okay. Once the others were distracted by Naegi-kun, I would have taken someone else hostage, said a voice from that very bed. Only from a vantage point near the floor by the bed was it possible to confirm that the identity of the voice. Surprisingly, the figure hiding there had been clinging to the underside of the frame. The way she held herself up was reminiscent of a ninja. A cursory glance under it would not have given away her location at all. And no matter the structure of the bed frame, it was easy to tell that someone who could endure such a long time in such a position must have possessed great physical strength. It was undoubtedly Mukuro Ikusawa, the super high school level soldier. But you pretended not to notice. Why? Ikusawa asked, cold as ice. Kirigiri replied without even blinking. Because I wanted to hear what you had to say for yourself while you were calm. I knew you were under that bed the moment I stepped into this room. It's slightly tilted to the side compared to the others. Fujisaki quickly tried to see if this was true, but there did not seem to be a visible difference between the beds. Only Kirigiri's honed observation skills could distinguish between such subtle differences. Ikusaba seemed to have come to the same conclusion. She silently emerged from under the bed, ending her questioning of Kirigiri. There was a mask of ice over her face to Fujisaki. She was even more terrifying than the bomb inside the deactivated monobell. However, Ikusaba immediately turned to Kirigiri. She leaned against the wall and let her arms go limp as she threw out another question. Why did you want to listen what I had to say? It was a simple question, but Kirigiri thought for a moment. She answered the question as though she was still searching through herself. If I had to say, it's because I want to remain neutral. Kirigiri closed her eyes and pulled out a trump card. The inconsistency concerning her own body. Most of my memories are gone right now. I have no idea who I am or what talents brought me to Hope Speak Academy. She could hear Fujisaki gasp from behind her, but Kirigiri continued. Even so, something tells me that I have to listen to what you have to say without passing judgment, whether you're good or evil. I must understand the facts in order to find the truth. I have to come to that conclusion based on the information I gathered through my own eyes and ears. I think that's the method that's been trained into me. That's right, you were always like that, Kirigiri. And before I listen to what you have to say, there's one thing I want you to tell me. What is it? There was no trace of emotion in Ikusaba's reply. Kirigiri formed her question and asked as though she was speaking to herself as well. What talent brought me to this school? The answer came all too simply. Kirigiri, you're a super high school level detective. It was a reply that would become a turning point for both girls. Thank you. Everything's falling into place now. Kirigiri slowly raised her head and introduced her hypothesis. If my memory loss isn't just a coincidence, then your organization has the power to erase memories, and under that supposition, we can take into account an events that took place in the gymnasium and come to a certain conclusion. That is, that what you said to Togami-kun as he made to abandon Fukawa-san. You claim that they know one another for 2 years may in fact be true. The fact that Naegi had called Ikusaba's name, Ikusaba's concessions and denials, genocidal shows claims, the irregularities that Kirigiri's powerful observation skills perceived were coming together to draw her to an answer. There is a chance that Togami-kun and Fukawa-san's memories have been erased much like my own, but I can't see them being under the exact same conditions as me. But if we assume the mastermind has some control over the range of memories to eliminate the idea that Manabel appeared to us on the day of the entrance ceremony is no longer a certainty. We may have indeed known Toko Fukawa for the past 2 years. But what are you saying, Kirigiri-san? Fujisaki cried, continuing to work on Manabel in the laptop. Kirigiri addressed both her fellow students as she continued. I had thought that we were drugged and put to sleep the moment we set foot in this school, but there's a chance that all of that was a fabrication. For example, we may have already spent the past 2 years attending Hope's Peak, but our memories of that time were taken away. Another possibility is that we were never super high school level students to begin with, just anonymous Jane and John Does who've been implemented with 16 years worth of false memories. Does this sound familiar to you guys? If so, it's kind of the same plot for Danganronpa V3. Kirigiri's claim sounded outlandish, but there was not a hint of humor in her eyes. She looked back up at Ikusawa and addressed her. In other words, in my mind, I am turning over the possibility that your strange story may in fact be true. Kirigiri's plain statement left the infirmary in silence, but she did not allow herself to be crushed by the atmosphere. Instead, she cut through the air with her words. Unless I have information, I can't do much more than come up with hypotheses. That's why I want to listen to what you have to say, Muko Ikusawa. I have no intention of taking your or that so-called hacker's words at face value. She paused, closing her eyes and saying determination into her next words. But I want to come to as objective a judgment as possible. Of course, this is only possible if you can trust me and tell me the truth. Kirigiri's voice made clear the determination and belief behind her words. Ikusawa narrowed her eyes slightly and turned to Kirigiri with a mix of emotions flashing through her eyes. Yet her expression and tone did not waver in the slightest. That's right, you were always like this, Kirigiri. Repeating what she had just said half to herself, Ikusawa spoke to Kirigiri directly. This is exactly why Junko took care to erase more of your memories. It's alright, I'll tell you everything. And once she had laid Naegi onto the bed proper, Ikusawa mechanically began her explanation. She described the life of a girl who relished the act of unleashing despair upon the world and herself. The plan for despair that had been set in motion 2 years ago, or perhaps even earlier. The fact that the world was currently ruled by despair itself. Ikusawa condensed everything she knew into as simple an explanation as possible. This was why it came across as even more outlandish than Kirigiri could have ever expected. And in that story, Ikusawa revealed the truth about the young detective, who Kirigiri was and why she was at this school, and even the final moments of the real headmaster, Kirigiri's father. Kyoko Kirigiri did not once speak up in confusion during their explanation. Her face went blank when Ikusaba brought up the headmaster, but perhaps her memory loss and the strangeness of her situation had dulled the shock of losing her father. Even still, Ikusaba did not expect Kirigiri to trust her yet. After hearing the story, Kirigiri remained silent for a time. Her unusual mental fortitude had allowed her to listen without denying Ikusaba's story and calling it madness or turning away in rejection. You don't have to believe me. After all the pictures that can prove my story were with Junko. All with Junko. Telling you this is the best I can do. With that, Ikusaba silently stepped over to the infirmary doors, and just before she left, she continued speaking without looking back. But even if you don't believe me, Kirigiri Fujisaki, thank you for listening to me until the end. With an unusual tone for an apology, she turned around once more to look at Naegi, who was breathing weakly on the bed. Try not to move, Naegi-kun. And once he wakes up, give him a few drops of energy drink from the kitchen or the storage room. I think it's supposed to be water, but the translation but the word translated weirdly from Japanese to English. So yeah, that's fine. But what are you planning to do, Ikusaba-san? Kirigiri asked. Ikusaba stood up a little straighter, despair. I have to show Junko despair. Ikusaba opened the door, mumbling as if meaning for only herself to hear. After all, that's all I can do. No, there's something else. Ikusaba stopped. Kirigiri spoke up. As long as you're engaged in combat against Mana-bear, he won't be able to touch Naegi-kun, whether he's Junko Enoshima or Bashiki Madoai. I can't trust you completely, but I can sympathize with the fact that you want to save Naegi-kun, not like Bashiki Madoai, who gave up on him immediately, right? I'm sorry, I don't know much about sympathy or anything. Ikusaba looked away, then bowed slightly as she stepped out of the infirmary. But I'll do my best. The door's closed. Ikusaba was gone. I'm sorry for getting you involved, Fujisaki-san. As Kirigiri went about mentally organizing the massive amounts of information Ikusaba provided her with, she turned to the pale and trembling Fujisaki, who was still at work on Mana-bear. Say, Kirigiri-san, about what Ikusaba-san said just now, we still have no idea if any of what she said is true. There's no need to worry unnecessarily, Kirigiri said comfortingly. However, Fujisaki looked away and turned to the laptop. I think she's telling the truth. Do you have a particular reason? Well, I'm pretty sure someone's controlling Mono Bear from the outside, but the super high school level programmer had connected part of Mono Bear's system to a computer analyzing the contents of its control system. But Fujisaki had noticed something unusual about this control program. I thought it would be another year before it could go online, but the system is fully operational. The rest of Fujisaki's voice was overwhelmed by trembling. You don't know that for sure. There's a chance that someone else was covertly developing the same program at the same time, Kirigiri said, attempting to avoid making hasty conclusions by proposing another possibility. But Fujisaki denied the possibility with a shake of the head. That's not it. Well, it just looked really familiar. Kirigiri turned to a trembling classmate, shocked. Fujisaki-san, then this program... Don't tell me you created this program. The super high school level programmer could do little but nod.